As a storyteller, I was constantly thrust into positions where I needed to tell stories without a mentor. And I found that so terrifying. When I joined TiVo, almost immediately I was making TV ads just because there was a gifting on my life and I could, people saw it before I saw it myself. And so I just had to kind of get on and do with it. And I think I suffered some deep trauma from telling stories without the theory until I went back to varsity. And even this idea of being a director, like that for me was an incredibly intimidating thing. I came from a very hyper-masculine, patriarchal school and environment. There was no grid for what it could look like. As someone with my inclination to be an artist or as a creative, there weren't really many role models like that. So I never saw myself as an artist or a creative. And to be honest, it created a lot of mess until I started to get the theory. A mess in myself and also just mess on sets in the work environment until I could really understand who I was. And a really central part about me understanding my role as a director and a creative was when I was introduced to the theory of semiotics. Now, semiotics is pretty straightforward. Actually, we all get it. So semiotic is the study of signs. So you all have said it many times before, in that picture is worth 1,000 words. What semiotics does is it gets into that picture and breaks it down and actually begins to list what the words are. And so it studies images and objects as signs and symbols, and it says that you can read them as a text. But essentially, when I understood the theory of semiotics is when my life as a director and a creative changed fundamentally, because suddenly I had a theory on which to tell stories with, which said that actually my job as a director of film productions or adverts or brand videos or documentaries was to give the audience the right semiotics that they could then build the scaffolding in their mind with that would tell the story. And so the first time I used this, the theory of semiotics really well, was in a Rewards Co brand film. Rewards Co was rebranding themselves. They're a very big call center in Durban with thousands and thousands of employees. Call centers are notoriously tough environments, tough workspaces, and they wanted to reposition themselves using our strategy as a call center that really cared about their staff and used that as a unique selling property to position themselves. And it's a great campaign, but again, because of the power of storytelling, I didn't want it to be something where it was just a campaign. There was no substance to it. And so before starting the campaign, I actually went and sat in the cafeteria, in the line, in the queue, and spoke to hundreds of the people in Rewards Co and asked them how they found Rewards Co as an employer. All of them kind of identified the big idea, and then it became my job to bring this thing home. So how do I then tell the story of call centers, which are very goal-driven and not very people-driven, as a people-driven agency? And it really came down to the use of semiotics at the end of the day. In doing the research for the film, what I noticed is that their staff would stand up. Like they would get up and start to sell things. They would get passionate about their products they were selling. Even necessarily the clients that they were working for, they would get passionate about these clients, and they would stand up and they'd have these passionate conversations, and that became the motif that we then use in the brand film. And as you can see, if you watch the brand film below, you'll see it's incredibly inspiring. It gives you the sense of like, whoa, what these people are saying is true. And even though the picture is just a simple standing up, the semiotics within that, the text that it says is that these people actually believe in what they're selling at the end of the day. And so the lesson there again is that if you're a director or you're looking to tell stories, I would heavily encourage you to go study the theory of semiotics and then apply that from the scripting conceptual phase all the way through to the editing phase. And then also, if you're hiring an agency or you're working with storytellers and they're sloppy with semiotics, in other words, they're not putting in the basic effort to use their environment, wardrobe, sound design, all the basics to help you position yourself as the brand, you're with the wrong people. You want to be working with people who take semiotics seriously at every level of the storytelling process.
Let go and love.